ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 11, Svāyambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Mahārāja. So we are in the final section from text 27 to 35, where Svāyambhuva Manu is urging Dhruva to give up the anger and surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Text 29. तमेनाङ्गात्मनि मुक्तविग्रहे व्यपाश्रितं निर्गुणमेकमीश्वरम् आत्मानोऽन्विच्छ विमुक्तमात्मदृक् यस्मिन् इदं भेदमसत्प्रतीतये. Translation.
My dear Dhruva, please therefore turn your attention to the Supreme Person, who is the infallible Brahman. Face the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your original position, and thus, by self-realization, you will find this material differentiation to be merely flickering. Purport: the living entities have three kinds of vision, according to their positions in self-realization. According to the bodily concept of life, one sees differentiation in terms of varieties of bodies. The living entity actually passes through many varieties of material forms. But despite all such changes of body, he is eternal. When living entities, therefore, are viewed in the bodily concept of life, one appears to be different from another. Lord Manu wanted to change this vision of Dhruva Maharaj, who was looking upon the Yakṣas as different from him or as his enemies. Factually, no one is an enemy or a friend. Everyone is passing through different types of bodies under the law of karma. But as soon as one is situated in a spiritual identity, he does not see differentiation in terms of this law. In other words, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.54, Brahma Bhutaha Prasannatma na shochati na kangshati. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. A devotee who is already liberated does not see differentiation in terms of the outward body. He sees all living entities as spirit souls, eternal servants of the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj was advised by Lord Manu to see with that vision. He was specifically advised to do so because he was a great devotee and should not have looked upon other living entities with ordinary vision. Indirectly, Manu pointed out to Dhruva Maharaj that out of material affection, Dhruva thought of his brother as a kin and the Yakshas as his enemies. Such observation of differentiation subsides as soon as one is situated in his original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Svayambhuva Manu further advises that, my dear Dhruva, turn your attention to the Supreme, who is infallible Brahman, Nirguna Ekamishwaram. So, Nirguna Eka means that the infallible Brahman is the source of Vimukta Mukta Vigrahe means free from anger, you do this. And then you will face the personality in your original position. And thus by self-realization, you will find this material differentiation to be merely flickering. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the living entities have three kinds of vision according to their position in self-realization. Right. So, according to the bodily concept of life, one will see things differently. And this is how the living entity will pass through different material forms. But despite of all these changes in the body, the living entity particularly is eternal. And therefore, when the living entity is seen from the bodily concept of life, what happens is one appears to be one different than another. And this is exactly, Svāyambhuva Manu wanted to change of vision for Dhruva. So Dhruva is saying Yaksha is different. He is saying Uttama is my brother, and Yaksha killed Uttama. Yaksha has killed Uttama. And therefore he is excessively angry. So here Svayambhuva Manu what is saying, my dear Dhruva, you also see that there is an ultimate cause, which is, there is a next cause than Yaksha killing is own karma of Uttama. And then there is ultimate cause, that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there is your duty to punish the Yaksha. And you have sufficiently punished them. But now you are crossing the boundary and you are destroying the Yaksha as the dynasty. So, see, one thing is not that, Dhruva sees Yaksha, Uttama is also brother, Yaksha is also brother, Yaksha killing Uttama, so no problem. Not like that. Dhruva has to do his duty. But Dhruva here is on, overstepping his duty. His duty was to kill that one Yaksha who killed Uttama. But now he is killing Yakshas in thousands. And therefore he is overdoing. And therefore, Manu Mahārāja is advising that, my dear Dhruva, please see this with this vision that just like Uttama is also your brother, Yakshas are also your brother. Right? Prabhupada says the devotee has this vision. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu. The point here is samah sarveshu bhuteshu. That he is equal to all living entities. Right? He is equal to, of course, he will have natural affection for those who are immediately connected. But still he is equal to all living entities. And this is the vision is to be cultivated. Not to see Uttama separate than Yaksha. Of course, that Yaksha has to be punished. Again, if we take this to another extreme, we will become another version of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, that somebody is slapping me in one cheek, I'm just saying that another cheek is also being slapped. And he has written some, the kind of the letters which are extremely objectionable. Right, so we don't want to go to that extreme. And here Dhruva is going to the another extreme where he just wants to do the genocide of the Yakshas. He's so angry. And Manu Mahārāja says that, my dear Dhruva, just understand, that Yaksha has to be punished, no doubt. But not that you go to genocide. And understand that just like Uttama is your brother, Yakshas are also your brother on a higher reality. Text 30. त्वं प्रत्यगात्मनि तदा भगवन्तनन्तम् आनन्दमात्रम् उपपन्न समस्तशक्तौ भक्तिं विधाय परमाशनक्षणकैरविद्या ग्रन्थिं विभेत्स्यसि ममहम् इति प्ररूढम्. Translation.
Thus regaining your natural position and rendering service unto the Supreme Lord, who is the all-powerful reservoir of all pleasure and who lives in all living entities as the super soul, you will very soon forget the illusory understanding of I and my. Purport. Dhruva Mahārāja was already a liberated person because at the age of 5 years he had seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But even though liberated, he was for the time being afflicted by the illusion of māyā, thinking himself the brother of Uttama in the bodily concept of life. The whole material world is working on the basis of I and mine. This is the root of attraction to the material world. If one is attracted by this root of illusory conceptions, I and mine, he will have to remain within this material world in different exalted or nasty positions. By the grace of the Lord Krishna, the sages and Lord Manu reminded Dhruva Mahārāja that he should not continue this material conception of I and mine. Simply by devotional service unto the Lord, his illusion could be eradicated without difficulty.
Yeah. Now Manu Maharaj says, regain your natural position and render devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. And this is how Granthim mama aham mameti mama ah iti prarudham. Very firmly fixed that Granthi is there, that not in the heart, I and mine, that you have to let go. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Dhruva Maharaj is already a liberated person, right? At the very tender age of 5, he had the darshan of the Supreme Lord. But now, for the time being, he is afflicted by the illusion of Maya, thinking himself to be brother of Uttama in the bodily concept of life. Now, again, needless to say, it is not that, one is not taking care of one's responsibility. Even after being liberated person, one is supposed to take care of one's responsibility, and that's Bhagavad Gita. Correct? That's Bhagavad Gita. But here, Dhruva is going way beyond his responsibility, and therefore this message is being spoken to him. So, the spiritual knowledge cannot be taken out of context. One cannot simply say that, just say, he is in the illusion of Maya, thinking that he is brother of Uttama, or I am father of somebody, husband of somebody, wife of somebody. Everything is Maya. That is not the case. Here, Dhruva is. So, what the point is, the paradigm of Bhagavad Gita is not nullified by the paradigm of Bhagavatam. Paradigm of Bhagavad Gita is the basic understanding upon which the building of Bhagavatam is built. Bhagavad Gita is foundation, and Bhagavatam, is tuka zhala se kalasa, like that it is. Bhagavatam is the shikhara. So there is the knot in the heart which is prarudham, vidyate hridaya grandis, chindyate sarva samshaya, kshiyante chasya karmani, drishta eva atmanishvare. And what is that knot? That knot is aham mameti, me and mine. And it simply doesn't go by the understanding that there is a knot. One has to work on it by the process of devotional service, especially chanting the holy names and studying Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. That we are what exactly we are doing. Study of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Otherwise, what happens is that we will have to remain within the material world in a different exalted or nasty positions because of this knot. Classic example is Dronacharya. He was pulled in the war between Kaurava and Pandava because of his attachment to Ashwatthama. Right? And Drona later, he folds his hands and begs at the feet of Ashwatthama, saying that I'm your father. I am attached to you. You leave the war, I will instantly leave the war. Ashwatthama says, no, I'm very attached to Duryodhan. You leave the war, no problem. Let Arjuna come and kill me. And this is how he's blackmailing. Right? So this is the nasty position. And therefore, it is very important that the aham mameti, and especially when we progress in our age, one has to become responsibly detached from the family life. Not that people are waiting abhi kab ye upar chala jayega karke. And that's in the finance world we operate in, people are literally like that. The elder generation is not ready to let go the control, and the younger generation is desperate and feeling suffocated under that tight control, and both have their own concerns. So therefore it is said that as a particular age comes, 50, 60, one should let go one's responsibility slowly, and one should completely focus. Otherwise one will become like Dronacharya or Dhritarashtra, extremely qualified. Dhritarashtra also was very, very qualified personality. But because of that attachment, aham mamata, they became, the object matter of ridicule. Of course, later, by the mercy of the Lord, they attained a very high position. But Prabhupada writes about that nasty position because of aham mameti. Correct. Currently also you can see in the politics, right? Somebody wants, no, my son only should lead that national party. And that party is going to the ditch. So this is aham mamete, right? Text 31. संयस्य रोषं भद्रं ते प्रतीपं श्रेयसां परं श्रुतेन भूयसा राजन् अगदेन यथामयम्. Translation.
My dear king, just consider what I have said to you, which will act as medicinal treatment upon disease. Control your anger, for anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please follow my instructions. Purport: Dhruva Maharaj was a liberated soul, and actually he was not angry with anyone. Because he was the ruler, it was his duty to become angry for some time in order to keep law and order in the state. His brother Uttama was without fault, yet he was killed by one of the Yakṣas. It was the duty of Dhruva Maharaj to kill the offender, life for life, because Dhruva Maharaj was the king. When the challenge came, Dhruva Maharaj fought vehemently and punished the Yakshas sufficiently. But anger is such that if one increases it, it increases unlimitedly. In order that Dhruva Maharaj's kingly anger is not exceed the limit, Manu was kind enough to check his grandson. Dhruva Maharaj could understand the purpose of his grandfather, and he immediately stopped fighting. The words Shrutena Bhuyasa, by constantly hearing, are very important in this verse. By constantly hearing about devotional service, one can check the force of anger, which is detrimental to the process of devotional service. Srila Parikshit Maharaj said that the constant hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is the panacea for all material diseases. Everyone, therefore, should hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. By hearing, one can always remain in equilibrium, and thus his progress in spiritual life will not be hampered. Dhruva Maharaj is becoming angry
We'll
with...
read in two sections. Sanyuscharosham bhadram te. So here is saying, my dear king, right, Rajan, just consider what I have said unto you, which will act as a medicinal treatment upon your disease. Control your anger, for the anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish good fortune unto you. Please follow my instructions. What a grace and dignity, right? I mean, many times, these days, somehow we have stopped explaining people, communicating with people. Generally what happens is that we are so much in hurry and we are so much convinced of our position. Generally, we end up shouting only on people. As a boss is shouting on the subordinates. As a father, I may be shouting on my child. The husband is shouting on wife is shouting on husband. I mean, the very clean communication. This is the example of what a beautiful, clean communication that is between a grandfather and the grandson. Svāyambhuva Manu and Dhruva Mahārāja, both of them are Mahajans. So he says here that please control your anger, ponder on my instructions, they are for your good fortune. Please follow my instructions. What a statement this is, right? Please follow my instructions. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions amazing things. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Dhruva Mahārāja was already a liberated soul. And he was not angry, he was beyond anger. He did become angry as a duty, that because he was the king and he was supposed to rule and he was supposed to punish the offender. Prabhupada says life for life, because the life of Uttama was taken, life of Yaksha has to go. But the nature of, so he took that, he wanted to kill only one Yaksha. But other Yakshas came and challenged. And then Dhruva is a Kshatriya. And then Dhruva's anger flared. And because he, as a Kshatriya, he cannot mute the challenge. He said that, okay. And then just he began the fight. And Prabhupada says, the nature of, and when the challenge came, Dhruva fought vehemently and punished the Yakshas sufficiently. But the anger is such that it increases unlimitedly. Bhuyaha Krishna Vartmeya Bhuya eva abhivartate. Later we will see in the Yayati's case, these three things, lust, greed, and anger. More we give in, more they will increase. More we control, more they will be controlled. Like that it is. Right? Like money. More we feel, more the money one has, more will feel, ज़्यादा है ही नहीं प्रभु जी, क्या कुछ भी नहीं है मेरे पास. And this we see, actually we see this. I mean, sorry for my next line, but this is our observations. The donations coming from the salaried class to ISKCON and to our particular observation are far more and regular than the donations coming from the business class. Although the earning is 10x from the business. Salaried people, they will earn some 1-2 lakh rupees. They will religiously give, Prabhuji, this is my donation. I want to give some 10,000, 20,000 rupees per month kind of a thing. Business people will earn in few lakhs per month, but they will say, no, Prabhuji, anytime, the business, it's not our salary, Prabhu, it's business. Business means up and down anytime, na. So, and this is how, the lust, anger, and greed acts in one's life. So more we give in, more, it is just the momentum, that more it happens, more it happens. It is just like that. Okay. So the anger is such that Prabhupada says it increases. If one increases it, it increases unlimitedly. And here Manu wanted Dhruva's anger to be checked. And Dhruva Maharaj could understand the purpose of his grandfather. Manu is coming and he's explaining, and Dhruva is not saying, hey, Papa, Azuba, grandfather, what is this? I'm fighting nicely. He himself is a pure devotee. As soon as Manu appeared, he immediately stopped fighting. Prabhupada writes here the word Shrutena Bhuyasa are very, very important. So, what is the meaning of word Shrutena Bhuyasa? Means that by constantly hearing, what happens? By constantly hearing about the devotional service, one can check the force of anger, which is detrimental to the process of devotional service. In fact, what to speak of anger, Prabhupada says, one should hear about the Supreme Lord. By hearing, one always remains in equilibrium, and thus his progress in spiritual life will not be hampered. Right? So we say every day, Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. So this is how Bhagavatam is punya phalam. Why it is punya? Because simply by studying Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu, all abhadra within the heart will go away. Right? Nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye. Cheta etairana vidyam sthitam satve prasidati. Tada rajastamo bhava. So what will happen slowly? Rajoguna and tamoguna will also subside. And what are the symptoms of Rajoguna and Tamoguna? Kamalobhadayaschaye. Rajoguna symptom is Lobha, Tamoguna symptom is Kama and Lobha, and Adi, Ityadi, they will subside. And Sthitam Satve Prasedati. One will be situated in the mode of goodness, Satvaguna. Then, Evam Prasanna Manaso, Bhagavad Bhakti Yogatah, Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam, Mukta Sangasya Jayate. And then, Vidyate Hridaya Granthis. We have seen previously at Granthim, text study, Granthim, Mamahamiti Prarudham. So, Vidyate Hridaya Granthis. So, therefore, what is important is, the prolonged hearing of the spiritual topics, not from YouTube, right? Prolonged hearing of spiritual topics from the bona fide disciplic succession. Not that, I just open YouTube and read anybody and everybody. His Grace Radhesham Prabhu, he mentions one very important statement. He says that one should respect all, listen few, and follow one. So we should have a listening list, that those, personally, I listen to those who are, one thing is, I don't know everything in ISKCON. Neither I want to know. I'm in ISKCON for last 30 years. But I just don't want to know everything in ISKCON and everything about everybody. And, it is not a knowledge quest. It is know few things, few know them really well and do them really well. That's what Bhakti is all about. But to whom we are hearing to, they should be very firmly following the central message of Srila Prabhupada. This is very important thing, right? So respect all, listen few. We should have, few 7-8 people that we are listening to. One is Srila Prabhupada. Primarily we listen to Prabhupada through his books. Another is one's Diksha Guru. Third is one Shiksha Guru. So these are 3 prominent personalities. Beyond that, some 4 or 5 other devotees, right? And that's enough. And when we are selecting those 4 or 5 other devotees, they have to be following the central message of Srila Prabhupada. It's very, very important. Not some Gyani kind of a stuff, not some, the stuff which is excessively about Upadharma, talking about Rashtravad, talking about politics, talking about, otherwise important things like yoga, Sangeet, Ayurveda, music, Vastu, and, the whole lot of Upadharmas. The message has to be central and firmly aligned to the central message of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada writes here, what a beautiful statement, right? About anger and about Shrutena Dirghaya. That one is Dirgha Shrutena. By hearing, one can always remain in equilibrium, and thus his progress in spiritual life will not be hampered. Yeah, please continue.
Dhruva Mahārāja's becoming angry with the miscreants was quite appropriate. There is a short story in this connection about a snake who became a devotee upon instruction by Narada, who instructed him not to bite anymore. Since ordinarily a snake's business is to fatally bite other living entities, as a devotee he was forbidden to do so. Unfortunately, people took advantage of his non-violence on the part of the snake, especially the children, who began to throw stones at him. He did not bite anyone, however, because it was the instruction of his spiritual master. After a while, when the snake met his spiritual master Narada, he complained, I have given up the bad habit of biting innocent living entities, but they are mistreating me by throwing stones at me. Upon hearing this, Narada Muni instructed him, don't bite, but do not forget to expand your hood as if you are going to bite. Then they will go away. Similarly, a devotee is always non-violent. He is qualified with all good characteristics. But in the common world, when there is a mischief made by others, he should not forget to become angry, at least for the time being, in order to drive away the miscreants.
So next Srila Prabhupada explains, Dhruva's becoming angry with the miscreants was quite appropriate. He was supposed to be angry. And as a devotee, Prabhupada says, we also need to be supposed to be angry. What it means is, as a devotee, we are always advised, Trinatapi Sunichena, Tarori Vasahishtuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. And when we do not have a right understanding of this, and when we display humility in the outside world, Prabhupada says in the common world, Prabhupada's word, in the common world, what happens is that there is always a chance that devotee may be taken for granted. So, and then Prabhupada says there is a short story about this. Once, by the divine association of Narada Muni, once a snake, cobra, became a devotee. Previously, cobra means, that nobody will go near cobra. But now he became a devotee. He stopped eating onion, garlic, he stopped, he just became a devotee, right? And devotee is like the first thing is devotee is very, very useful to everybody and harmless to, everyone. So because the cobra became a devotee, cobra was just like moving around and everything. And soon people realized that he doesn't do anything. And people starting hitting stone on him, especially children, Prabhupada writes. And next time when Narada Muni came, Narada Muni saw this cobra, his eyes were swollen, his body was ripped apart, he was like swollen on all sides. And Narada Muni said, what happened to you? And said, oh, Narada Muni, Gurudev, I followed your instruction not to be envious of anybody, not to bite anybody. So now people are just coming and hitting me with stones. And Narada Muni said, Arey, I told you not to bite, but I did not tell you not to hiss. And he said that you should not be taken for granted, and especially devotee should not be taken for granted. It is not good for the people one who takes devotee for granted. Right? That's what the entire pastime we are hearing. Suruchi took Dhruva for granted, and this is what the entire Dhruva, the pastime is unfolding. And therefore he said that you don't bite, but you hiss. And the next Narad Muni, he said, yes, Gurudev. Narad Muni departed. And next day morning, when people came with the stones, suddenly this cobra, flew in the sky 6 feet. And he was just doing the hissing sound. People just frightened, ran away. So he was not biting, but he was not allowing himself to taken for granted. This is very important thing, right? So, Prunadapi Sunichena doesn't mean that, one becomes like a doormat. That is not the point. There is Atma Sanman, there is a Sanman of a devotee. Of course, it should not become pride, but one has to protect oneself as well. In the common world, when there is a mischief made by others, one should not forget to become angry, at least for the time being, in order to drive away the miscreants. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhupada. Thank you very much.
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Small question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, here we see like Svāyambhuva Manu coming and explaining the Dhruva Mahārāja, but should we expect like if Dhruva stops fighting, Yakṣas also stopped, or I mean, no one told Yakṣas like to stop fighting after Dhruva stopped, or is it understandable?
Yeah.
వాళ్ళే చెప్తారు.
So that is in the next chapter. So Dhruva Mahārāja, so what happened is Dhruva Mahārāja stopped fighting, and of course Dhruva overpowered the Yakṣas. One thing is, Yakṣas were defeated by Dhruva. And Dhruva stopped fighting, and then, naturally what happened is there is the appearance of, they prayed to Kubera. And Kubera, who is the, the master of the Yakṣas, Yakshapati, he also appeared. That is the first verse of the next chapter. Bhagavan Dhaneshwara. Dhaneshwara means he is the Kubera words. And then Kubera appeared, and Kubera said that I am extremely pleased, my dear Dhruva. You do not know, but all these personalities, you have sufficiently punished them. They deserve the punishment. And by you punishing them, they have attained a very higher destination. They have crossed even the Suryalok. Now they are in the Janalok and Tapalok, they are sitting. So you have elevated them by your anger. And I am happy that, please ask me benediction. So Yakshas also stopped. Right.
Thank you. We can see
Hare
here
Krishna.
similarly
Thank you,
like in
Prabhupada.
many yajnas also, if some animal is given as a Jantu Bali in the yajnas, they will get higher
Yeah, yes. Similarly,
So-
the Yakshas were given a higher destination. Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, small question. Here it is said that hissing only, just hiss and don't bite. So that means just show that you are angry. But by the time just showing anger, the person's nature becomes envious. So how to deal with that?
Yeah, so one has to be very careful with anger. So, in fact, sometime I was telling this, that, one day in a Grihastha, the kind of a workshop, myself and Parameshwari were supposed to do some skit, and I was supposed to become angry on the wife, and, something like that. This was happening. And when the skit was going on, I really became angry. And, of course, my wife just controlled the situation. And at home, then she became angry. Drama kar rahe the, you really became angry. So it is not very easy to pretend anger, right? So what in our case, what we can do, at least we can convey that we are upset and, this is not good. At least we can be upfront with, speaking. Of course, there is a way to convey that how we are. But the point is, many times what happens is that we suppress our anger so much that later it comes up uncontrollably. So we are in that, again, the duality zone, the pendulum zone. Either we will tolerate pressure cooker so much, city hone hi nahi dete, that, one day that pressure cooker just erupts and, everything is broken. So time to time we should release the anger, in the sense that, we should tell people, no, this is not right. And there is a way how to tell, but it has to be conveyed, it has to be communicated. Otherwise, we are just building up. Right?
Yes, true. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.